Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out. We have an incredible group of the people most responsible for the movie we've just seen with us. So let me get right to it. We are going to start. Please join me in welcoming Tony Goldwyn. He plays Paul Cohen. Playing Rick Macy, please welcome John Bernthal. She is Serena Williams in the film, Demi Singleton. Sister Venus, Saniyya, Sidney. And last but certainly not least, a fresh prince who became a king. Please welcome Will Smith.
Thank you. Love that. Y'all didn't do that for Wild Wild West.
This is an amazing lineup. Congratulations, guys. Such a fantastic movie. I've seen it now twice myself and can't wait to see it again. And I guess I want to start with you, Will, because this goes back something like 20 years for you. Can you talk about the moment when Richard Williams first really impressed you?
Yeah, it was the famous interview. We depicted it in the film where the interviewer is asking Venus, how were you, so confident? And he's pressing her, and Richard interrupts the interview. So, I saw that, way back when it was happening for real. And, in the press, Richard Williams was, villainized and vilified so much, that this overbearing, crazy father. And I saw that moment, and what I was so impressed by was Venus's face, right? She's like, and it was like as if she had a lion. She had a lion that was going to protect her with its life, right? And I just saw what that did in her heart when she knew that she was going to be protected. She knew that she was loved, and she didn't want to sick her lion on you, but if you was tripping, And I remember thinking to myself, that's how I wanted my kids' face to be when I showed up. That kind of confidence and that kind of certainty. And I was in love with Richard Williams from that point.
And we should also say that you are not only the star of this movie, but also a producer of it. And I think you have played a number of real people who were alive at the time you played them, from Muhammad Ali, Dr. Bernthal, Chris Gardner. But I feel like from what I've read and heard, there were just maybe more personal connections to Richard Williams that you felt than, you've spoken about, he makes you think of your father. He makes you think of your daughter. Yeah. Maybe you could just talk about why, on the surface, there may not be many similarities, but deep down there actually are.
Yeah, I think more than anything, I was more mature going into this role, and I had sort of probed myself deeper. And, I wrote my memoir over the past couple of years. So I was deeper into myself and into my comprehension of my father and my relationship with my father and my relationship with my children. So as an actor, I understood myself and my life better, which made it easier to comprehend Richard Williams and the Williams family. But he was very, very similar to my father. You know, I know, exactly. He was like very similar to your father too, apparently. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, it's okay, man. It's okay. No, but you know, my father was military, so you know, that post-World War II, you know, black man, that mindset that you know, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. And, you know, Richard Williams, similar to my father, felt disrespected and abused and disregarded by the world, but never let it break him. So I understood what that look was in my father's eyes, and I recognized that in Richard Williams' eyes. And then in terms of being a father myself to a young black girl in this world, I had a sense of that also. So yeah, I felt more prepared than ever in my life to honor and explore this man and this family. And
just one more question for you, Will, before we go down.
No, that's all I have time for.
I want to just establish how long. I mean, everybody's been partly because of the pandemic, but this has been a years-long process. For,
yes.
I mean, can you talk about? There's a script by Zach Baylin that was at the top of something called The Blacklist, which are the best scripts that had not yet been made into a movie. This became, that script became this movie. Ronaldo Marcus Green, who's not here, the director who you were involved with bringing. Just talk about those guys, and then we're going to talk about how each of the rest of these great folks came to be part of this.
Yeah, you know, Zach Baylin, you know, was one of those, you know, things where, you know, it's very rarely where you read a screenplay and don't have a note, you know, and that first pass of the screenplay, you know, Zach just hit it out of the park. And it's always when there's stories that you think you know, and then you read something and Zach found all of the different angles, and, you know, Miss Oracene was really quiet, you know. So Richard was always talking and always in the press, and Miss Oracene was laying back. And it was a huge revelation for all of us to realize that, you know, Miss Oracene was an athlete that was a part of training Venus and Serena. And, you know, she would never say it out loud. We put it in the film. She said it in the interviews, but she had never said that, you know, she fixed the serve. She fixed Serena's serve after Richard messed it up, you know. And even the idea of the open stance. We didn't get the full story into the film, but Miss Oracene was saying the part of the open stance for the girls is she was pregnant with Venus when they were trying to learn tennis. They learned tennis together in order to teach the children. And because she was pregnant, she couldn't close her stance, and she started ripping open stance shut just for that. And she says that's where they got the idea. She was able to hit shots so powerfully from the open stance. And then that's how the family started training open stance.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So yeah. Saniyya and Demi, I want to ask you guys, my understanding is you had heard about these parts and were on tape for them before even Ronaldo Marcus Green was the director. So how did you first hear about this, and what was it that made you say, I see myself as Venus and Serena Williams?
We auditioned for it when it was still Veronica and Sophia.
Hollywood top secrets, you know.
But I think we both kind of auditioned around the same time, and it was mostly just trying to see the confidence in both of us, the eye of the tiger that they wanted. And so it was a lot of just trying to figure that out. And I kind of knew exactly what it was going to be, but it was kind of just like studying Venus and seeing how she was from the age we were starting to her becoming into a young woman. So that was like that research that I was doing in the very beginning.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think they could have done a little better with the name choices. It was a little obvious. It was Sophia and Veronica spelling bee champions. Wasn't that off? Yeah, but like Saniyya said, we started auditioning. I found out about this in maybe late 2018, and I started auditioning for this in late March, early March of 2019. Yeah, but for a while, I think I really wanted to be a part of this because of who Serena and Venus are.
And it wasn't specifically, were you guys tennis players? Were you into tennis? No? Neither?
No.
Because we're going to come to that, how amazingly, I know you trained a lot and made it look, that's the problem with a lot of tennis movies, is it looks fake.
Right.
This does not. This is the real deal. So anyway, we'll come back to that topic. But
I just want to say this is I love saying this. Both of them were you know, so devoted and dedicated. So they were taking tennis, going to school, and shooting the film, right, all at the same time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Saniyya, you know, I always embarrass her when I say this. Saniyya not only had to learn how to play tennis like one of the greatest tennis players of all time, Saniyya is left-handed. She had to learn how to do it with her offhand.
So John and Tony, these coaches who were so instrumental in the development of these two young women, they're real people. These are not composites. These are guys who are out there. When you first heard about this project, how familiar were you with those folks, and what was the primary draw for each of you to be part of this? I think John, you've had a background in sports, but not tennis, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely not tennis. Definitely, you know, and meeting Ray, you know, I think we ultimately sort of first connected, you know, being athletes. We both played baseball in college, and we both sort of grew up as athletes. You know, I think like Will said, you know, you read a script, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know, you read a script sometimes, and it's so wonderful and pure, and you just say, I would fight. I'll fight for this. I'll do whatever it takes to be a part of this thing. And then I think, you know, if you're lucky enough and blessed enough that it actually works out, you know, you start meeting folks, and then the thing starts getting real. And then it goes one of two ways, you know. And this one was just a continual sort of just set of blessings and moments of inspiration. Every single person I met, every single person that I got to work with, in the cast and the crew, just was so unbelievably wonderful, and both in process and in humanity. This was this was the most beautiful project I've ever been, you know, blessed enough to just be a part of, and I think. You know, for me, ultimately, I didn't know much about Rick Macy, but what I read was that he just fell in love with this family, fell in love with these two young women, and meeting them and meeting their families. They you know, and everybody. They just. This was very much a family affair, and folks' families were there and a part of it, and it was just beautiful. I'm just real grateful.
That's great. And Tony, before they got to Rick, they went through Paul, and Paul could have Paul had to make some decisions about working with Richard. It was an unusual dynamic, but he signed up. And I guess just for you to sign up to play this guy, what was the most exciting part of that for you? The appealing part?
Well, similar to what John said, when I read the script, it's just one of those that has magic to it. There's, you know, obviously when I heard about it, I knew it'd be a great project, that Will was, you know, at the center of it. But when I read that script, I was so moved. You know, Paul's a wonderful character, but the whole thing, I just felt like I had to be a part of it. And then I reached out to the real Paul Cohen, who was incredibly generous, and we talked a lot. And the thing that came through in every conversation was his deep affection and respect for the family and for Richard. You know, because they have quite a contentious relationship. You know, but the fun of it is it's fun because he had so much admiration and respect for Richard. So he kind of they you know, knocked heads in a way that was mutually respectful and also all about Venus. You know, talking to him, it was just really helpful to hear that from his mouth. And that was, you know, how many years ago, and he's still, you know, he writes me all the time. And, you know, he's talking about the family and Richard and, you know, how much he loves them. And yeah, so I just feel like, John, really blessed to be a part of it. It's very rare to feel that magic dust on a project, and you knew it from the beginning with this one.
I bet.
And it was, yeah. And it was very important to John, Tony, and myself that we use our real legs with those shorts. You know, no special effects, no makeup. We wanted, you know, just the authentic tightness, and then the legs were all us. So it was all personal us legs.
So in setting up my next question for Will, I want to just...
Sorry, that's distracting.
No, that's great. You know, that's great.
You're trying to be professional. Sorry.
I want to just set up this next question with a compliment for you, Will, which is that weirdly, and I'm bored a few of my friends who are here with this, but about 20 some odd years ago, I was a ball boy at the tournament that's the week before the U.S. Open. Wow. And I would ball boy for years for Venus when she was starting out, and Serena would be in the audience.
That's cool.
And I have to tell you, the best part was that Richard Williams would come hang out with the ball kids in the ball kid tent. And we loved him because nobody else had time for us, but he was, and I think that from a physicality standpoint, from the whole attitude, I can tell you firsthand, it is eerie watching you play this guy.
Thank you,
and,
thank you.
And the amazing thing, have you ever crossed paths with Mr. Williams?
We have never sat in the same room together.
That is the craziest part.
Never sat in the same room together. We started, and it was right before COVID. And then as soon as, you know, COVID hit, you know, he was unavailable in person. So we you know, I have 100 hours of video and tape and you know, conversations, but I have his entire family was available. So his daughter Isha Price was on set every day. So the family put Isha in as the family rep, and she was literally there every second of every day. And Venus and Serena would pop in and out, and his other daughter, Lindrea, was wardrobe. So anytime something came up, we had Isha and Lindrea right there on set. And, you know, we had interviews with Oracene, and so everyone was available. So it was, you know, very helpful. And what was really cool, Venus and Serena said they would act as executive producers during the shooting, but they wouldn't put their name on it till after they saw the movie.
And their name is on it.
I know, yeah. I was like, oh no, oh no. And I got the call that they were going into the theater when the film was done. They were going to see it, and then they came out and they were crying, and they just loved it, and they agreed to they agreed to put their names on it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, and yeah, I mean, Richard Williams. He's a unique character in a lot of ways, but physically, can you just talk about every day you played this guy? You were, I mean, there's the posture, there's the speech, there's the walk. I mean, what did you have any secrets you can share about how you, you know, so inhabited him as on this movie?
Well, I'm pretty good with dialects, right? So when I can hear it, so I have a little bit of a musical ear for dialect. So I'll usually probably I'd say 6 weeks it takes me to get a dialect, and 2 hours a day. 1 hour with an instructor, 1 hour just listen. I'll drive around in a car and just listen and mimic behind. But usually 6 weeks to being able to just ad-lib freely and just have a conversation in the dialect. And I'm generally, with a character like this, I'm looking for one physical thing to latch onto to make me understand how their body works. And the thing, my barber, Pierce Austin, he's around here somewhere. Pierce, you never know where it's going to come from. And he said, he called it shopping cart, right? And shopping cart is how Richard Williams walks, right? So, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. So once I had shopping cart, then I had the idea of that walk, and that concept throws your head forward. It changes your voice. It changes the amount of air that you can take in and all of that. So that was the thing that really clicked it. And, once I had the dialect and the shopping and the concept of shopping cart, I really, I started to be able to dial it in around those two major concepts. The shopping cart really speaks to the amount of abuse his body had taken. His body, he had been beaten so much and his body had been battered so much that it left him in that kind of position. His feet are always hurting, so, it was, the hard thing, the most difficult aspect was I was surprised at just how much Venus and Serena loved him. Like they loved their daddy. And the thing that was most interesting to me is how can, if you're driving somebody to succeed like that, it's really difficult to sustain a loving kindness. Right, it creates a different thing when you're pushing, and Venus gave me the key with that. She said, "No, he never pushed us like that," and she said it's almost like the Jedi mind trick. He tricked us into begging him to play tennis. Their punishment would be they weren't allowed to play tennis. Right. So, and Venus, and I remember she was like, I don't even know how he did that. But we'd be begging him, Daddy, please, can we go practice? Please, can we practice? Yeah. So it was, he's a very unique and special man.
Totally. So you ladies, Demi and Saniyya, I want to talk about, we've gotten a little bit into the tennis, and I'd love to hear more about that, but also just the bond. There's a very close bond. There always has been between Venus and Serena. The holding hands and giggling and inside jokes. That's very real. And I wonder if you can talk about how you went about kind of learning about their dynamic, and when along the line you actually did get to meet these two ladies who are now, I guess, what are we, 20 some odd years removed from the period that you're portraying them? If they had any good tips that were helpful? So Saniyya, if you want to start us off.
Sure. I mean, like Mr. Will said, we had Isha and Andrea there every day. So that helped a lot. But when they came to visit, we kind of just got to see their personalities more. And at first we kind of were like, oh my gosh, Venus and Serena. But then they were just chill, man. They were just people, and we kind of connected with them. It kind of helped us too, because getting to see them together, it was kind of like seeing them as kids again. They're so silly, and that helped us a lot too. Yeah,
like Saniyya said, when they came, it was definitely great to see them interact firsthand. We hear all over the media how close Venus and Serena are, but it was really helpful for us as actresses to see that. But also to build that bond, we just hung out. You know, as soon as we found out that we booked the roles, our director, Mr. Ray, got us in touch, and we started texting. And then I flew out to LA. I was living in New York at the time, and then I flew out to Los Angeles. And the first day that I got here, Saniyya came over, and so we've been friends since then. You know.
And you both actually trained with somebody who had coached Venus and Serena when they were young, right? At Rick's Academy.
They were at Rick Macy's Academy together, Eric Tano, and so they grew up together.
They played together.
They played together
at the academy.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's talk about the fact that I believe 5 days after Venus and Serena visited the set, a little thing came along called the pandemic, which has affected everyone's life, and you guys shut down for like, I don't know, something like 6 months. You were not until October were you back. How, I guess, John, where were you in terms of your scenes at that point, and how did that affect the production from your standpoint?
Look, it's crazy because I can just keep, the last answer I just sort of was gushing about how much I love it. I can kind of just keep doing that because it's sort of the same answer. If there was ever a movie to sort of go through that, like maybe this is inappropriate. I feel like we handled the pandemic as beautifully and great. Like it was, the cutoff point was sort of right at the point where there's that big time jump in the movie anyway. Yeah. So I had just come on, done, the scene where where Rick comes to Compton, meets this incredible family, and then it was, the break was right after that. So I hadn't really done much, and for me personally, I met them, at tennis training. I fell in love. I got to work, with Will on set, and there's no words for what that was like to see him do this. I was like, okay, and through that entire time that we had off, number one, I kept the mustache. My wife hated it. There was not much making out. My kids kept pulling on it every chance they can. They call me Mr. Mustache Man. And these guys made fun of me all the time, and everybody at home made fun of me. But I got to continue training in the tennis and continue living in the accent, continue living with it. And, Will continuously had us over. We continually were breaking down the script, working on it, diving in, showing us parts of the movie, things, and it was just always this sort of attitude of positivity and encouragement, and we were just chomping at the bit to kind of get back, and we knew we were onto something so special. So it's really the same sort of answer.
Oh, it's great. It's helpful. I am going to turn this over to you guys in a moment, but I do want to talk. Normally, it's not polite to talk about people who aren't here, but we are going to do it about both Ronaldo Marcus Green and Aunjanue Ellis, who are both deserving of that.
Yes.
And so, Tony, can you just talk about? I mean, you have been a part of so many special movies and TV projects over the years. You worked with a lot of great directors. Ronaldo Marcus Green has done other projects that are very good, but nothing that's of this profile that people are going to see in the numbers. They're going to see this. What enabled him? What makes him obviously so good?
So I got this for me, right?
You please.
Yeah, Ray is just amazing. I saw his first film, Monsters and Men, yep, which blew me away. But it's quite a low budget, small, gritty film set in New York, and you could see his mastery and how gifted he was. So I was super excited to work with him, and had as John mentioned when we first talked, I was like, this dude is so smart and so down to earth, and but it's you can't describe the pressure on a filmmaker taking on a project like this that is about two of the most iconic people on the planet, is with one of the 2 or 3 biggest movie stars on the planet, who is also one of the great actors in our pantheon of actors, and on a major studio budget and all of these things. It's I can't even describe. The pressure's extraordinary, as gracious and easygoing and positive and warm and embracing as Will is, it's just a lot. And from the first time I, got on the set, Ray was just chill. He's like so confident, so just like, yep, this is where I belong. I got this. Yeah. And it created an environment, obviously Will gets a lot of the credit for just creating a creative environment, a work environment where everyone feels relaxed and seen and valued, from all of us to the production assistants who were brand new to the business and doing the grunt work every day. So that I'm sure was tremendous for Ray, but I was really blown away. As you said, I've been doing this for a while, and I've worked with a lot of directors, some of the greats, and then a lot of first-time directors as well. And his level of just innate confidence and ease really blew me away. And the result, when I saw the movie, I knew it'd be good, but when I sat in that screening room with my daughter, by the way, who wept from the opening to the end, I was just really, he's really special.
Thank you. And Will, of course, if you want to add anything about Ronaldo, but also, I mean, nobody shared more scenes here with Aunjanue Ellis than you did, and unfortunately she can't be with us here today, but she is rightly getting applause in the middle of the movie and all kinds of things. So just, a very talented actress who I think is really kind of getting the appreciation now that she has long deserved. Anything you want to add about her?
It is that subtle power, right? And it is, you can feel it, but it's almost invisible to your eye. So, she understands Miss Orsine so beautifully, and it's the work that she was able to do is, I'm so glad that people are seeing it and applauding it, because it's the type of thing that it just usually just goes under the radar, and it's like just how she was able to hold those scenes and the difficult twists and turns, right? It's one thing for King Richard to play this character that's the goal, and everybody is watching, and he's farting in scenes and all of that. It's like it's like you can't help but love that. But that subtle power that Aunjanue was able to bring to this role and hold it in a way, holding this family together the way Miss Orsine did. And Aunjanue was able to understand it and capture it and depict it in a way that it's penetrating people. And it's such delicate, tricky, heavy lifting that she was able to do. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that the world gives her flowers.
Absolutely. So we are going to come to you guys now, and I'm going to preface it with the usual, please, go right to the question, no pitches, no whatever. Let's just get right down to business. And we're going to start.
Yeah, Will, great work, Brother Will. But I got this thing I'm bringing, you've done tennis, so I got something with lacrosse that I'm thinking you'll be really...
Right here, please, with the hand up. Yes.
Hi, Will, Overbrook High School, but the scene...
Overbrook
High School. The scene with almost your life is going to change because you had a gun and you want to kill that person.
Yes.
Was that a real, true moment in the world of King Richard?
Yes, that's Richard said that was a moment when he realized it was ordained, because he felt God stuck his foot out and tripped him, before he was about to ruin everything. And he said from that moment, he recognized the hand of the divine. They are a very faithful family, right? So part of why they were able to do what they were able to do is God and family are first and foremost. Tennis is fifth on the list of their priorities, and, I asked Miss Orsine, about that. And, you know, did the way, you know, I was asking her, did the way things were happening, did you ever, you know, have doubt? You know, were you scared? And, you know, she said really calmly, she said, fear and doubt are the opposite of God and faith. And she was like, we had no fear, we had no doubt. I was like, wow, you know? And it's like, but that is the subtle, silent certainty that, you know, Miss Orsine was able to set in this family, and that's what the kids were raised with. That, you know, faith, family, love, contributing to the human family, and then tennis. And they were using tennis to build contributing human beings. You know, they weren't using tennis necessarily to make money. They wanted to make money, but even that was way down on the list of what they were concentrating on. Their mental health and their faith and their love as a family and their contribution was before making money in tennis. And it was a beautiful revelation.
I want to give somebody here a shot, please. Pam.
Hi. Nice to meet you all. I'm Cass. My name is Moki Chambers. My question goes to everyone, including yourself. What was the most intimate or emotional connection you have with the character throughout the film?
I'll just repeat it for the back. I guess what was for each of you the most intimate moment, the most emotional moment for you to play? Yeah, if you
want me to go? Okay.
Sure. Yeah, we'll go down the line.
First.
Yeah.
I think the scene in the kitchen with Orsine, with Aunjanue, the scene in the kitchen really, because we didn't, that was really late in the shoot, and we didn't have that scene. That scene, we found that scene on the day, and we hadn't rehearsed and all of that, you know. So searching for the core of what was the confrontation between this couple, and then what was at the center of Richard's hesitance. And, you know, when the first time that, you know, I looked at Aunjanue and she said, you know what, you just scared. You just, you know, you think that the world is going to see just another dumb nigger. And, you know, and she said, and you know what? You think they might be right. And it was like, ooh. You know, and you just have those moments on set where you understand your character thoroughly and you fuse into the emotion of what's really going on inside of them. And that scene helped me understand Richard in a way that he may not even have understood himself. That was a note that we got from Miss Orsine. You know, so it was, that for me, that was the moment of fusion with the character.
I can't believe you guys did that on the day. You worked that on. That is like one of the best scenes of the movie.
Exactly.
We'll be seeing that played a lot the next few months.
Yeah, exactly.
Saniyya?
For me, I think it's the scene between Mr. Will and I at the net. That, at the point of the movie. That at the point of the movie, we kind of just came back. That was like probably a month into like shooting and everything, and it was the transition for Venus of becoming a young woman. And for me, I could connect to that because some of the stuff she was going through, I was going through still, you know? So that was something I could connect to, but at the same time, Mr. Will created such a safe space for us on that day that it was just like, you know what, what would Venus do in this moment? And then also like, so now how would you feel if, you know, something you love so much was just being ripped away from you? And so that was something that was just going through my mind throughout that whole night. And each take, it was kind of like I got more angry and angry. Mr. Will allowed me to do that. And I don't know, there was just like a point where I was just like, I'm Venus, this is her, she's here. Yeah. And it was just like, oh, I'm gonna let her rip.
It was beautiful. Yeah. To me, what was it for you?
I think for me, one of the many scenes for me, I'm always emotional, but I think one of those scenes was my scene that I shared with Mr. Will in the tennis stadium, where he tells Serena that she's going to be the greatest of all time. You know, I had, you know, for that specific scene, you know, she just loves her sister so much, you know, and she doesn't want to be upset. She just wants to be supportive of Venus. She wants to be there for Venus and wants to see her do what she loves, but she can't help but feel that way. And so I think for me, it was just finding that balance of loving my sister, loving her sister, but also wanting to be where my sister is. Yep. And so I think that was the most emotional scene for me.
That's great. Yeah. John?
You know, I think in the I don't even know why y'all are laughing. But I will say that, you know, for me, in the series of these sort of like delicate, trying to maneuver these sort of bumping of heads and bumping of philosophies, you know, with Richard, with Will, you know, one of the things that I'm so grateful for is that, you know, it was really based in really, really believing in what's best for this young woman who he had come to love, and he works for this man, you know, and it was delicate, and it wasn't just, hey, this will be better for us all monetarily, or this will be better for our careers. When she came to him and said, I need you, I'm ready, I need you to do this, and I really believe that was what was best for her, and I really wanted him to see that it was out of love for her, and it was enormously emotional to have this young woman, you know, believe in me, to put me in a position to be an advocate for her with this man that we all revere and love. So that's the answer.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Tony, will you close us out? What was it for you?
Yeah, it was quite similar, actually. There's that moment when Richard surprises me by firing me. Not that it was about being fired, but the sort of inner terror that he was going to be wrong, and that this extraordinary young girl was not going to be able to fulfill her potential, and the way that I felt like Paul had been allowed to be a member of the family and been invested in them. That it was a beautiful moment, and one that really, really resonated with me.
Totally. Well, there are so many more we could talk about, but we got a busy group of people up here, so let's just say thank you so much for coming by, and congrats.
Thank you all. Thank you.